We'll move on to board forum. Reverend Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel like I need to go back and talk about the budget process a little bit more, but I know this is public, this is board forum. I feel like also, honestly, a number of those folks have been colleagues, and so we've had discussions like that before. I really appreciate where we are in the budget planning process, and thank you for all the work that has gone into it and what we're doing. But I do believe that having a budget neutral and a 5%, what would the term you use? 5% reduction. Thank you. 5% reduction. That would be that's smart. But also, I think we need to also say we want to have an accurate amount of what it's going to take to do what we say we want to do. And if that's more than the 5%, more than budget neutral, we have to acknowledge that. Because either we have to have the budget that we say we're going to need, or we got to, if you're not going to raise the budget, you got to lower your expectations. So based on what we need, we should state that budget amount. If we don't get that, then of course we have to do something different. But if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. I'm not trying to go to church, but if you have not, because you ask not. So I think that the planning process need to really include, especially if the salary study comes back and say, hey, we need to start at these amounts to be at market value, then that means that that's what the study said. That's why we pay for the study. So I'm going to really try my best now to be disciplined and not keep on talking about an item that we've already talked about. But I really feel compelled to say, especially when I look at the district that I'm in, and I know that those schools better than any other schools, and still don't feel like I know as much as I need to know about them, we have severe teacher shortages, period. And so whatever we need to do to make sure we get teachers in there, in every class, but especially those critical skill classes. We have have schools that had F letter grades, schools that have in the lower 5% and lower 10%. So this is really an area that I think for me, and I know for all of our board members, that we want to get the best we can with the bucks we have. So thank you for what you're already doing, and looking forward to see if we can do the best job we can. Thank you.
Ms. Edwin. Thank you, Reverend Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In case Reverend Butler would like the microphone back after I finish, I just want everybody to know that there was a time when board forum was the longest part of the meeting. So, and I want to echo what he is talking about. If we could have, besides a budget that is neutral and a budget that is 5% less, I would like to see the wish budget. Here is the budget that could let us do what we really want to do. Maybe that wish budget is outlandish, so be it. I think seeing the budget of what we really want to do puts the budget of what we actually have in perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reverend Butler, you've started a trend here. I don't know if it's going to keep going. We'll see. But one of the things that a very smart board member of mine years ago at Restoration House said, and kind of got us on a 5-year forecasting path, is that really the budget, what we're doing in that is we're asking ourselves, what does it actually take to accomplish our mission? What does it take financially? Now, that doesn't mean you can always get what you want, and it doesn't mean you can always pay what it takes, right? But you at least need to know that, because ultimately that's the target. And if you're doing multi-year forecasting, which is a lot easier in an organization like mine than an organization like yours, you need to have something that you're shooting for multiple years down the road, right? And that's why I appreciate things like what we're doing, like the salary schedule and the facilities assessment and all those types of things, right? Those things allow us to set those long-term goals. But I do agree with my colleagues that unless we also state what is it actually going to take to accomplish our mission, regardless of whether or not we have the funding to do it. And that's not really out in the public eye. It's very hard to kind of drum up the energy to go out there and say, hey, this is what we got, and we know, and we're grateful and all the things, and we're going to do this with it, and we're going to prioritize and all the stuff. But here's what we really need to get to, right? And I do think it's important for us to, I know it's a lot of work. I mean, you all budget all year round. I mean, Snyder and his crew, I mean, they're just cranking numbers, right, all the time. I mean, I get it. But I think it would also behoove the district and the school board and our other people who can help, other folks who can help impact the revenues that actually come in from a legislative standpoint, to understand, like, what is it going to take to accomplish our mission, first and foremost, even if we don't have all the revenue to do it in this particular moment. And so I don't know how we get to that as well, which I think is what my colleagues are advocating for. But I do think it's important for us to consider and to be aware of. Because whether or not it's budget neutral or 5% below, I think all of us in this room probably agree that's not actually what it's going to take to accomplish our mission. It's probably something different than that, right? Even though we can't get it. So I wasn't planning on talking about that at all, but you did preach a little bit, and I was just wanted to tag team with you. I just wanted to, I know there's been many, many thank yous go out, but I just wanted to thank both our crews internally, but all those people in our county. And we know that we're not the only county that was impacted by this across our state and other communities. Operating a preschool now, I had just a little bit of that. I was on my own personal tractor, scraping and doing all the things and shoveling. And to do anything like that on that scale, and you spoke to it a little bit earlier, Dr. Riswick, takes a tremendous amount of fortitude, takes a tremendous amount of pre-planning. And I know that the general public, I wanted my kids out of my house. I'm just being straight up, right? Like, my son eventually was just wearing me out. And I'm like, are you ever going to leave your room in that game? But outside of all that, we know, I mean, I think we all know that you all are doing the very best that you can. We're doing the best we can as a county, especially in a community that doesn't see this all the time, right? It's very different if you were up in Montana or whatever. You're like, man, I'm just going to roll through it. Like, let's do this thing. It's a little bit different. So really, really appreciate the help. And when I saw the picture go out about the salt truck flipped over, and I'm like, dude, like, that could be, I'm glad that that person was not injured, but that could be any one of us and our kids and all that. And then also appreciate you being willing to be real with us earlier and talking about the incidents of today, and appreciate all the work that you all do all the time, because safety is about vigilance, right? And you can't let your guard down. So I appreciate everybody not doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Mr. Triplett?
Yeah, I will break the cycle and not talk about the budget. Other than to say, as a member of the Halls community, I am thankful for the investment we've made in the resources to prepare our teams for the events of today. So as a member, Halls is my home. As a member of that community, there were some scary moments for some parents and students and teachers today. And so I thank Dr. Riswick and Chief Perriard for their preparation and all the planning and the vigilance they've had to prepare for a day like today that could have been. And we thank the Lord it wasn't what we thought it was. And thank our SROs and Security Division and Knox County Sheriff, and then, of course, Jessica and her team and the teachers, just the real heroes that kind of ran to it rather than away from it, and were prepared, knew what to do, and executed all that, and got the kids home. So we're thankful for that, and I just want to thank you guys for your work.
Thank you. Ms. Pike?
Thank you. I am going to talk about the budget. I agree with previous board members that talked about negotiations. I think it's really important to, really have that wish list. And I think that that's something that I would like to see when we have our individual meetings, is to kind of see, what our district's wish list was, and all the spots that we kind of came close to, and all of that kind of like middle ground. Because I think, there are going to be sacrifices. I also agree with having being budget neutral or 5% below. I think that that's very smart, especially our economic climate and what we're potentially like looking at in the future. But also considering the growth of Knox County and a little bit of that being unknown, I think is really important. Speaking specifically for District 4, who has some of the highest ranking elementary schools in the state. We're very privileged to have some really great teachers and educators and fully supported students, but there is still a lot of turnover in the District 4 schools because teacher pay and support and being overworked and overlapped classes, overcrowding, and that still exists in my district as well, which a lot of people don't realize, I think, sometimes. So I attended the listening session that was at West High School, and I really appreciated it. It was really, really great. I participated as a community member because that's where my children will eventually go to high school once they're that age. And some of the discussions that we got to have were really engaging, and seeing the ideas from the community and the students. And I would love to see that happen more often. I don't know if every year is attainable, but certainly more than never. And I think, we talked last year about custodians and looking at their pay, and I really hope that in our salary study that we see that we can pay some of those lower paid employees a little bit more. And I'll just stop there and say thank you to Dr. Reiswick for all of the support through the snow, the incidents of today, and just thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Horn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It has been an evening of lots of thank yous, but I would be remiss if I didn't also express my gratitude for Dr. Reiswick and the staff for all of the events of this week and last week, because I think that it has been just a lot of things happening that are beyond your control, and as has already been said, all the detail and the planning that has gone before to make those decisions and those circumstances just flow as well as they could. Regarding the snow issue, I've seen a lot of very positive comments from parents, and that's been nice to see. We live in such a culture when people just like to complain so much. It's been nice to see positive comments, and I think that people have seen that the school district does value the safety of our students, and that is, of course, our primary goal, to make sure that students are safe. And so I just appreciate all the work and all the hours that have gone into all the decisions that have been made over the past couple of weeks. So thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Horn. Ms. Christie?
Well, now I feel peer pressure. Sorry. Yeah, positive peer. I'll keep it short. Just, to echo what everyone else has said. Our security division, can't say enough good things about them, and our maintenance department. And just, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback too. I don't think some people realize that our maintenance department is always on call. We don't wait until Monday morning when a pipe bursts to address it. So thank you, Dr. Adams, and the entire maintenance team. And, of course, everyone who responded today as well.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. Well, I guess to echo also what everybody has said here, we always talk about safety. We always talk about how safety is a priority. And today, well, not only today, the past 2 weeks, we've seen that in action with the snow and putting kids' safety first. And then today was a parent's worst nightmare. And it was real until, for those parents, for those staff members, for those kids, until we found out, luckily, and, blessing, that it wasn't real. And so I want to thank the officers, all of our officers back here who put their lives on the lines every day, the teachers and principal and your administration and your staff. Thank you for being there for our community. And I think today is a true testament of the community coming together and working together to make sure that those kids were safe. So thank you all for that. And with that, we are adjourned.